Shalom. So, hopefully, everything is going fine with this stream. I am streaming on Rumble, and Rumble tells me there's 5 people watching, which I find surprising. So, if people are watching on Rumble, please do join the chat. I would love to uh, know if there are actually people watching. Um, hey, Dominic, how are you? Okay, so last week actually was kind of a. Oh, by the way, if there are any technical issues, please do let me know. That's the only way I know that there are technical issues. If there's something wrong with the sound or whatever, let me know. I will try to fix it. Also, everyone is welcome onto my Discord server, which, if you would like the link, it should be around here somewhere, but I can also send it to you. Um, Last but not least, like, subscribe, share, all of that stuff. Okay, so last week was filled with a lot of weddings for me. I went to the wedding of one of my rabbi's daughter, which was kind of. I remember I literally changed her diapers, and now she's married. Um, and that was something. And then on Saturday, 2 people I consider friends. We're not close friends, but we're acquaintances. Josh Her and Spencer Clavin. Uh, Josh decided to pop the question right there in front of everybody, and frankly, um, thought that was really sweet. Uh, but obviously, there's a lot of people who there are religious issues with 2 men marrying each other. Um, and a lot of people don't really understand my position on that. Especially, I mean, people start speculating about my sexuality and all kinds of stuff. If you are a close friend of mine, I will tell you about my sex life. If you are not a close friend of mine, if you want to speculate about my sex life, you go right ahead. But um, I I actually believe in privacy, and so yeah, that's whatever. That's another thing. If I decide to get married, all my friends will in fact be invited, and I can assure you, as much as I am happy for Josh and Spencer, um, I do not believe in gay marriage. And one of the reasons I do not believe in gay marriage, even though I am very happy that Josh and Spencer, who are 2 wonderful and very religious actually, um, they are both, as far as I know, very devout Christians. And Spencer recently finished his translation of the book of Isaiah to English. And so, um, unfortunately, people have been trolling his Twitter, it seems, because people just have. I have to say, part of this, I believe, is bad Christian theology leading to our society um, not functioning as it should. Um, like I like to say, 1 equals 3. It kind of inevitably leads to 2 plus 2 equals 5. And this Christians, I would especially say among Protestants, have this incoherent way of looking at um, sin, and there are Christians who believe that if you are a Christian, you would never sin in any way, which is beyond ridiculous. um, I mean, if you believe that Christianity gives you supernatural ability not to sin, um, I don't know what to tell you. I hope that's true for you. Um, yeah, and but in Judaism, we understand the concept of what is ideal and what is real in people's lives. Now, this is the Talmud in Cholon 92b. It is discussing why uh, basically the world hasn't been destroyed. You can look. This is right at the top. The discussion starts on 92a, but Ula gives three reasons, and he says she'ein kotvin ketuva lezcharim ve'achat she'ein shoklin basar hamet b'mekulin ve'achat shemechabdin et haTorah. So the three reasons are: one, that um, they do not write a marriage contract for a wedding between two men, um, although they violate the prohibition against engaging in homosexuality. They are not so brazen as to write a marriage contract as for a regular marriage. And one, that they do not weigh the flesh of the dead in butcher shops. And so that's um, being brazen about murder. Um, some people had comments about this particular one when the Planned Parenthood videos came out. And the third one is that they honor the Torah, they honor the Bible. Um, anyway, um, obviously, Judaism is, if you know your history at all, Judaism is the source of the heteronormativity, and some people would say the homophobia, that has taken over Western society. Uh, the Greeks and the Romans didn't have this idea that the Jews do, that sex is supposed to only be between a married man and a married woman. Uh, they they had they thought there was sex for procreation, and then there was sex for fun, and the two didn't necessarily have to relate with each other. And so Judaism, through Christianity and then Islam, um, has changed the world in that manner. Heteronormativity is a uniquely Jewish value that has taken over the world. And while there are people who would like to believe that the traditional view within Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are on the wrong side of history, honestly, these are people who aren't really thinking about what's going on very well. Look, if you let's take it from a completely materialistic view. Let's say that what is positive, what exists, is actually normative, right? Can there be a more obvious dysfunction than for your sexual orientation to make it impossible for you to reproduce? I mean, Biologically, there is no argument to be had here, none whatsoever. The purpose of sexual orientation, the function of sexual orientation, is to improve reproduction. That's the only reason why sexual orientation exists. And if you are going to be scientific about it in any way, there is nothing so clearly dysfunctional as a sexual orientation for mammals that is homosexual. It's just clearly dysfunctional, right? And so I have absolutely zero worries about being on the wrong side of history, especially when you're actually aware of the science, right? Um, Interaction of fraternal birth order and handedness in the development of male homosexuality. If you are interested in the science of human sexuality, um, we may not already know how to cure homosexuality. Um, Certainly, the conversion therapies that people have tried just don't work. And that's why I oppose the idea of conversion therapy, is because they don't work. Um, what a lot of people don't understand, whereas somebody who has as many gay and trans and bi and all sorts of LGBTQ to whatever you want to MNLOP um, friends, and actually has looked into things beyond the silliness that is our current conversation. um, what you what you realize is, look, if you were to offer somebody like Josh and Spencer, who are getting married, a cure to homosexuality, do you really think they would take it? Um, no. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of um, heterosexuals who don't know homosexuals don't understand about that is, um, part of this whole fight we're having is a fear that conversion therapy or some sort of therapy would work. Um, I think as we find out more about human sexuality, we're eventually going to stop having kids who are dysfunctional in this way, um, quite likely, because what from what we've been able to tell, um, what goes on in the womb has a lot to do with um, whether or not somebody is homosexual. This is an article in The Atlantic that could not be printed today. It is from December 4th, 2012, where masturbation and homosexuality do not exist. Highly recommend reading it if this is something that is of your interest. But if your argument is right side of history, I think it's going to be very, very uncomfortable for a lot of people when the science comes down on, if you don't want your kids to be gay, X, Y, and Z can be done. and it will have the precise same ridiculousness in the discussion as currently exists, believe it or not, in the DEAF, as in Frank, in the deaf rights um, question. There are people who want their kids to be born deaf because they are part of deaf culture. Okay? Most of us recognize that is insane. But where our society has gone, partially because I believe of bad Christian theology, is we are not discussing things in a rational way. Why? Because if you're going to say that homosexuality is dysfunctional, what is celibacy? And that's someplace Christians can't seem to go because they believe that Jesus was celibate. Um, Roman Catholic priests are all celibate. Many monks in the Eastern Orthodox are celibate. There is an anti sex component to Christianity, which stops Christianity from recognizing what Judaism has less of a problem recognizing. Not being able to have children is a huge problem. It's a bad thing. It's not a good thing. Um, there's a halacha. This is Jewish law. If after 10 years of marriage, a couple have no children, they're supposed to get a divorce. Almost nobody follows this. Even in the most religious, ultra Orthodox um, communities, it is rare that couples will get a divorce because they have not had children after 10 years. And it's something that within Judaism we can understand because we have a very different view of sin, perfection, and the ideal than Christianity does. I know I am a sinner. Um, I have many sins to my name. I'm not going to describe them all to you. Um, and I am not afraid of going to hell, uh, despite my sinful nature. And that's something very strange to at least some, especially Protestant Christian understandings of what it means to be a sinner. Many, many years ago, Stephen Greenberg, who is known as the gay Orthodox rabbi, came to our synagogue um, with his partner. And honestly, if there was anybody in the whole world who would be unwelcome in an Orthodox synagogue, it would be Stephen Greenberg showing up with his partner. Because Stephen Greenberg did receive rabbinic ordination, even if it's from Yeshiva University. That's a little joke. Um, he very clearly is advocating for a change within Orthodoxy as far as something that's very clearly against the Torah. And he was showing up with his partner to our synagogue. And my rabbi did precisely what I expected my rabbi to do. Treated him with open arms. Um, in in no way was there any hostility, any sort of nothing. Why? Because in an Orthodox synagogue, there's a lot of people we welcome on a regular basis who are married to Gentiles. And I think it's very clear within halacha, within Jewish law, that being that an interreligious marriage in so many ways is the worst thing you can do. And I think anybody who thinks about religion in serious terms understands that, understands why people would think that, and why a religion has to hold that. Because having a home where the religion is not central is a complete denial of the religion. I think this is just so clear. And I mean, if somebody wants to discuss it, we can discuss it. But I think that's absolutely clear. And if you are going to be an actually thinking and coherent and consistent person regarding your attitude towards sin, I don't see how having children out of wedlock is somehow better. Um, how being involved in a sexual relationship out, and I've had people argue this with me, and frankly, I don't think they make a lot of sense. They will say things like, it's still more natural. Well, that's your disgust um, reflex. That's not your actually looking at the results of what's going on. And honestly, partially, I think the problem is that Christians have so much difficulty with having a coherent and consistent definition of sin at all, right? So I censored this picture. This is me being best man at the wedding of a very good friend of mine for, uh, we've been friends for 30 some years now. I think it's been more than 30 years, maybe a little bit less than 30 years. And he is Jewish and she is not. Nobody, nobody said anything about me being happy for them, which I am. They have two beautiful children right now. Um, I wish them years and years of happiness. But religiously, Judaism is not part of their life at all. So actually considering how you are going to think about things in a consistent manner, right? Honestly, it puts the lie to the supposed Christian belief that you can follow the spirit of the law without the letter of the law, right? If you're not willing to actually engage in legalism, if you're not going to actually consider how and why and what is right and wrong and a graver sin and a lesser sin, and then you're not actually going to have any connection with the spirit of the law. You can't have a spirit of the law that does not correspond to the actual letters of the law. I have no hate in my heart, but I go around murdering people left and right. Keeping the spirit of the law, people die. That's not how it works. That's not how it can work. Um, and it just reminded me a lot of this passage in Matthew, right? Um, this 19, when Jesus had finished talking, he went from the country of Galilee. He went to the part of the country of Judea, which is on the other side of the Jordan River. Many people followed him, and he healed them there. The proud religious law keepers came to Jesus. This is the NLV, by the way. I don't know why I chose that one, but let's keep on going. They tried to trap him by saying, "Does the law say a man can divorce his wife for any reason?" He said to them, "Have you not read that he who made them in the first place made them man and wife? It says, for this reason, a man will leave his father and his mother and will live with his wife. The two will become one. So they are no longer two, but one. Let no man divide what God has put together." The proud religious law keepers said to Jesus, "Then why did the law of Moses allow a man to divorce his wife if he put it down in writing and gave it to her?" Jesus said to them, "Because of your hard hearts, Moses allowed you to divorce your wives. It was not like that from the beginning. And I say to you, whoever divorces his wife except for sex sins and marries another is guilty of sex sins in marriage. Whoever marries her that is divorced is guilty of sex sins in marriage." Now, this line here, it was not like that from the beginning. I think, from my understanding of the Aramaic, I think what Jesus was saying is, this is not l'chatchila. This is not how we do it from the beginning. This is bedi eved. And this is a concept that's very well understood within Judaism. L'chatchila is how you would do things. If you ask me what should you do, right, I will tell you l'chatchila, right? A man should marry a wife and stay married for the rest of their lives. That's l'chatchila. And what is bediaved? What is how we deal with a real life situation? That a man and wife who got married may, in fact, God forbid, need to get divorced. And being capable of seeing the difference between the ideal and what is real life, being able to see that better is better than bad, even if it's not the best. And one way people put it is, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Yes, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I am very happy for Spencer and Josh. They're two very nice guys. And they're not living an ideal life. But I would rather them be happy than for them to be alone. I would rather they be happy together than to be alone. Would I rather they were getting married to very nice women and having who they loved and were having children and everything was perfect? Yes. And I do believe as our society progresses, as medicine and our understanding of human sexuality progresses, um, we are quite likely going to fix the sexual dysfunction that is a homosexual orientation. It boggles my mind that there is even a discussion. If you know anything about biology whatsoever, you should understand what it means that something is dysfunctional, right? It doesn't work. And that's what a homosexual orientation in mammals is. And um, do I go around making fun of deaf people? No. Do I go around telling deaf people, hey, you're deaf, you can't hear? No, I don't. Um, and, and it would be ridiculous and stupid to do that for any dysfunction. Um, and so it's very sad to me to see that, much like the Trinity has led to 2 plus 2 equals 5, that this idea of either being the holiness churches who believe that they do not sin, right? Oh, I have Jesus, I don't sin, right? Or that somehow uh, Jeremiah 31 has come true, and it's written in your hearts to not sin. Um, these types of ridiculousnesses have led to an even more ridiculousness within Christianity, which is not being able to see the difference between the ideal and what exists. Um, and what exists in this world is not in any way perfect. Get used to it. Um, try to improve it. Don't make people's lives worse. Do not make people's lives worse. I don't know how much more clearly I can explain that. Anyway, if there are any questions, I'm actually very interested to know if there are actually 5 people watching on Rumble or not. So if you are on Rumble, please do let me know, because I don't actually get statistics, although honestly the YouTube statistics aren't much better, neither are the Twitch statistics, but um, I'm multi-streaming. So okay, and today we are going to finish uh, Psalm 119. Finally, we've been doing it uh, three or four stanzas a week, and this is what is called an eightfold acrostic, meaning so an acrostic poem is when um, each verse starts with a subsequent letter of the Hebrew alphabet. So the first verse starts with Aleph, second verse with Bet, third verse with Gimel. This is an eightfold acrostic. So there are 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. The first eight are for first letter, and that's why there's 176 verses total. And we are on 145 because Kuf is the 13th letter of the alphabet. Okay. 13th? No, I'm getting that wrong. Sorry. 144, 8 times 16th. I'm bad at this. Sorry. Yeah, I'm bad at doing math in my head. Especially uh, it's the 19th, 19th letter of the alphabet. Yes. Okay. I cry out with my whole heart, hear me, O Lord. I will keep your statutes. I call with all my heart, answer me, Lord, and I will obey your decrees. God. I called out with all my heart, answer me, O Lord. I shall keep your statutes. Okay, let's look at the Hebrew. Karati bechol lev aneni, sorry, Havaya hukecha etzora. Interesting. Okay, so karati is the perfect of to call, kufresh aleph. I called, right? It's the completed action. So I'm not sure why. Well, I mean, you can you can translate it into the present tense. Yes, like karate. Yes, there's a lot of jokes about karate and karate. Um, we are a punny people, we Jews. Um, but it's in the perfect, so like Chabad, I would have translated it into the past tense. Bechol lev, with all my heart. Yeah, my is implied. So again, lev can be written two ways in Hebrew, with one bet or with two bets. And what we generally say is that when it is written with one bet, it is talking about a kind of united heart, as opposed to with two bets, it implies a sort of ambivalence, both your good and evil inclination. Right? So this is with one bet. Aneni, so answer me, right? It's in the command form. Answer me. Aneni, Havaya is the tetragrammaton. Hukecha, and Chok is the class of mitzvot that is usually translated as statutes. And so, as we say, there are three classes of mitzvot in Judaism. There are mishpatim, judgments, which are things which are easy to understand. Um, ed, eduyot or mitzvot, which are those laws um, which set the Jewish people apart. Um, and then there are the hukim, which are those commandments which we do not understand why they exist. Etzorah, right? So this is the imperfect cohortive. The hey at the end is what's telling you that it's cohortive. And this is natsar again, and that's the way you know that there was a nun here is the dagesh in the tzadi there. It is written bechisaron. There's no It's a cholam chaser there. Um, which, I mean, not too strange. And Natsar is used a lot in this psalm, especially uh, because, I mean, it's an eightfold acrostic, so using shamor and all the other ways of keeping would be kind of repetitive, overly repetitive. Okay, next verse. I cry out to you, save me, and I will keep your testimony. I call out to you, save me, and I will keep your statutes. I don't know why this the NIV decided to change. Chok is almost always translated as statutes. Anyway, 146, Chabad. I called to you, save me, and I shall keep your testimonies. Let's see what Rashi is saying. The acronym of Edotai Dameh is Dameh Ben Peretz. Edotecha. The Vav is vocalized with a cholam, but in the other instances it is Edotai. The Dalet is vocalized with a cholam. I have no clue what Rashi is trying to say there, and I'm not gonna bother you with it. I might look it up later myself. Okay. Karaticha hoshieni ve'eshmera edotecha. So karaticha, I called out to you. I called you, right? Hoshieni. So this is the hefil. It's the causative imperative command form. So cause me to be saved, right? Hoshieni. Ve'eshmera, and I will keep. Again, this is cohortive with the hey at the end. Um, and because of the vav, you could say in context that it's being flipped, but I don't think it is. Edotecha, so these are the types of commandments which we say are signs or witnesses or things that specifically exist to set the Jewish people apart as a mamlechet kohanim, as a nation of priests. 147. I rise before the dawning of the morning and cry for help. I hope in your word. I rise before dawn and cry for help. I have put my hope in your word. I arose early when it was still night, and I cried out. I hoped for your word. Hidamti baneshef ba'ashavea lidvarecha yechalti. Interesting. Okay, so kidamti. So kedem means can mean east. It means forward. It means earlier, right? So kuf daled mem. Kadima means forward, right? So kedma means east, because it is forward. So kidamti, literally, I mean, I rise early is it makes sense. It's not exactly that. Um, it's an appeal, which is the intensive form of the not passive, active voice. Baneshef. So there is an article in the vocalization there Neshef Twilight. How many times does it show up? 12 times. Jeremiah, Isaiah, Proverbs, Psalms, several times in Job, Kings, Samuel. From Nashaf to blow. Hmm. Which only shows up 2 times in the Bible. Yeah, you can use your concordance there. Okay. Ve, va ashavea. So, um, the root again, cry for help. Oof. Shava, cry for help. Yeah, I guess it shows up many times in Job, several times in Psalms in that manner. I kind of assumed that it was related to Yeshua, which means um, which means salvation, but Shava. Yeah, you can use your concordance there. Denominative of Sheva, which is akin to Yesha, deliver. Shivati. Shavi. So this is the type of thing which makes people believe in a two-letter root system, two radical root system in Hebrew, which I personally do believe there is a relationship between any word that has two strong roots. Um, so shin and ayin in the same uh, order. Yeah. Sha'ashu'im is delights, which I would say is likely related as well. Um, yeah. What you may want to look at is here in the unfolding word um, he, uh, Hebrew grammar, they have things like stem hitpalpel, right? Which is a real stem. It does happen, right? Which is as opposed to having two as opposed to having 3 letters, it has 2 letters, right? Two radicals as the root, as the shoresh. Okay. So what you're seeing here is there is a difference between what's called the kativ and the kri. So that's what the K and the Q are. So kativ with a is written with a chaf, right? How it's written, and kri, like karate, right? I called. It's kuf resh aleph. Um, so it's written with a yud, but it's read lidvarcha, right? To your word in the singular, as opposed to lidvarecha, your words, which is how it's written. And um, yeah, I mean, there's whole discussions about why certain things. Some things it's very clear why the Kativ is very different from the Cree. For example, there are certain words which are always euphemistically changed in when you're reading out loud. But and then there are kabbalistic understandings of why it's written one way and it's read another. Yichalti, right? To hope, to wait. Um, we've also had this several times. Yachal several times in this one psalm. So Psalm 119, yeah, in verse 43, 49, 74, and I'm guessing there's probably more. Yeah, so Yachal. 148. My eyes are awake, though the night watches, that I may meditate on your word. My eyes stay open through the watches of the night, that I may meditate on your promises. My eyes preceded the watches to speak of your word. Um, so Rashi's explaining the Ashmurot, right? The watches during the night. Kidmu einai ashmurot lasiach be'imratecha. Interesting. So kidmu again is like kidamti, right? But now it's in the plural because it's referring to my eyes, right? Kidmu einai ashmurot. So the root is shin mem resh, which is to watch or to guard or to keep, and ashmurot are watches, right? Night watches, I guess. Yeah. Lasiach, so they're translating it as meditate. I usually translate siach more along the lines of Mishnaic Hebrew as to chatter. Um, but in the biblical Hebrew, I guess it makes more sense that it is not necessarily to speak out loud, to kind of, I guess, meditate makes sense. Be'imratecha, with your words. And like I said, because this is such a long psalm, it uses different words over and over again, which have similar meanings. So devarecha, imratecha, right? So um, we usually say davar is a more intensive, partially because it is put into right. So we say medaber as opposed to omer because we usually conjugate it um, in the PL, not in the Pa'al or call. Okay, 148. If there are any questions, please do ask. I am trying to keep an eye on the chat. Okay, where were we? Hear my voice according to your loving kindness. O Lord, revive me according to your justice. Hear my voice in accordance with your love. Preserve my life, Lord, according to your laws. Hearken to my voice according to your kindness, O Lord, according to your custom, sustain me. Koli shim'a kechastecha, havaya mishpatecha chayeni. Okay, so koli, kol is often written bemilui. So my voice, koli, shim'a, listen. Right, so this is the command form, shim'a. Chechastecha, right? According to your chesed, which chesed is usually translated as loving kindness. Havaya, right? That's the tetragrammaton. Kemishpatecha, according to your judgments, is how I usually translate mishpat, right? Shofet is a judge, right? So how exactly? I mean, customs, yeah. However you want to translate kemishpatecha. Chayeni, cause me to live, basically. Chayeni, revive me, enliven me. 150. They draw near who follow after wickedness. They are far from your law. They who devise wicked schemes are near, but they are far from your law. Pursuers of lewdness have drawn near from your Torah. They have distanced themselves. Let's see what the Hebrew here is. Karvu rotfei zima. Interesting. Mi Toratecha rahaku. Interesting. So Kerev is means close. Kufresh bet. Rahak means far away. Resh het kuf. And these two are often, karov and rachok, are often juxtaposed. Okay? So karvu came close, karvu, rodfe. So a rodef is somebody who is pursuing, right? Who is intensely pursuing. Can even mean somebody who's coming to try to kill you, right? Rodfe zima. So here, rodfim is in a is in construct form with zima, which plan, device wickedness. Yeah, so zomem is to conspire. Edim zomemim. Yeah. Kol asher yazmu la'asot. In Genesis 11, it's talking about people who conspired, right? To do things. So people, maybe I would translate it as conspiracy, but I mean I understand why Rashi's saying that it's lewdness. Let's see what Rashi says. Rodfezima, a council of sins. They follow the counsels of their sins and distance themselves from your Torah to draw near to the counsel of their evil. Okay. Mi Toratecha rachaku. Right? So they distanced themselves, or they are far from your Torah, from your law. Okay, 151. You are near, O Lord, and all your commandments are truth. You are near, Lord, and all your commandments are true. You are near, O Lord, and all your commandments are true. Karov ata havaya v'chol mitzvotecha emet. So again, karov, near, right? Ata. So the pronoun is being used as a stand-in for the present tense of the verb to be, because Hebrew has no present tense of the verb to be. So karov ata havaya. So you are close. The tetragrammaton. V'chol mitzvotecha emet, and all of your commandments are true. I would probably translate it. I guess truth could be as well. Yeah. 152. Concerning your testimonies, I have known of old that you have founded them forever. Long ago, I learned from your statutes that you established them to last forever. From before I knew from your testimonies, for you established them to the end of the world. We might come back and read the Rashi. Kedem yadati me'edotecha ki le'olam yesadetam. Interesting. So kedem, like we said before, is early or front, right? Oftentimes what's translated as days of yore, yeah, right? Yamim kadmonim, right? Is kedem, right? So kedem yadati, of old I have known. Yeah, I guess I have known. So this is the more intimate form of knowledge, da'at. Me'edotecha, and you'll notice it alliterates with edotecha, right? So Edot again are those um, commandments which are signs which separate Israel from the other nations. Um, Kedem yedati me'edotecha. I concerning, yeah, I guess me'edotecha, concerning, regarding your testimonies. The prepositions can be kind of vague and difficult to translate in Hebrew, but ki la'olam yesadatam. So for, because, that, la'olam, it literally means to the world, but is usually translated as forever. And that's what it means, ki la'olam, right? Yesadatam, right? So yesad is yesod is foundation, establish, fix, right? Yeah, and you can, I mean, it's used 41 times. I'm guessing there are other forms of it. Um, Yesod is one of the Sfirot, so it's one of the things that the Kabbalists talk a lot about. Um, it is identified with Joseph, the patriarch. Um, but you have founded them, you have established them. Hila olam yesaditam. You have, yeah, you have founded them, I guess. You have, uh, yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm not sure how you would translate that better. Let's see what Rashi had to say. From before I knew from your testimonies. Before the thing came about, I knew it from your testimonies. Before they inherited the land, you commanded them about the first fruits, heave offerings, and tithes. And before you gave them rest from their enemies, you commanded them. Deuteronomy 25:19. And it will be when the Lord your God gives you rest, etc., to appoint a king, to annihilate Amalek, and to build the temple. So he's saying that the the mitzvot were in the Torah even before they actually occurred. Yesadatam, for you established your testimonies concerning all things destined to be until the end of the world. Okay. Okay. 153. We're on Resh. Uh, Consider my affliction and deliver me, for I do not forget your law. Look on my suffering and deliver me, for I have not forgotten your law. See my affliction and release me, for I have not forgotten your law. Re'e onyi v'chaltzeni ki toratecha lo shachachti. Okay, so re'e is the command form of to see or to look. Consider, okay, I guess, but literally it means to look, to see. Onyi, right? My poverty, my affliction, right? This is the same root as ta'anit, which is um, a fast. On Yom Kippur, it says anitem, right? You shall afflict it nafshatechem, your souls. V'chalatzti. So chalatz literally means to take off, to draw out off, or out, withdraw. You might know it from the modern Hebrew word choltza, which means like jacket, I believe. Or chalitza is the Yibum, the Levirate marriage where she takes off his shoe, right? Yeah, how exactly you want to translate halatz here? I think if you look, I mean, it's used 44 times in the Bible, but I think it's used in many different ways. Aramaic despoil, Phoenician proper name Halatz Baal. Baal has rescued, and Halatz alone. In Arabic, withdraw or retire. So Chalteni caused me to be Chaletz. However, that um, well, I mean, it's not Hefil. It's not in a causative, but yeah, Chalteni. I mean, I guess deliver me. Does Rashi say? No, he doesn't. Release me is how they translated it, which I can understand. Ki Toratecha lo shachachti, because I have not forgotten shachach, your law, your Torah. Yep, the last part's pretty simple. 154. Plead my cause and redeem me. Revive me according to your word. Defend my cause and redeem me. Preserve my life according to your promise. Plead my cause and redeem me, for your word sustains me. Okay? Riva rivi ugoaleni leimratecha chayeni. So riva rivi is actually something that gets quoted a lot. I don't know if it's necessarily from here. So it is a I mean, it's obviously a repetition, and in Semitic languages, repetition usually means an emphasis. Um, Reeve is a like fight, strive, contend. Reeve. Yeah, so when two men are quarreling, right? Yarivu. So fight my fight, basically, is how I would probably translate it if I hadn't heard it. 67 times, Reeve. Um, I think that it is related to Rav, which means many, in kind of meaning to divide. Um, Agitate, disquiet, cry, shout, quarrel noisily, shouting, clamor. Yeah. So Riva Rivi, um, plead my cause, take up my fight, maybe. U Goaleni, so Gaal is to redeem, right? A Goel is a redeemer. Um, Leimratecha chayeni, according to your word, revive me, cause me to live, sustain me, enliven me. However you want to translate chayeni. I mean, we've had it several times. 155. Salvation is far from the wicked, for they do not seek your statutes. Salvation is far from the wicked, for they do not seek out your decrees. Salvation is far from the wicked, for they did not seek your statutes. Rachok merashayim Yeshua, ki hukecha lo darashu. Okay, so rachok, we've had it recently, as opposed to karov, right? Close is far away. Here written bemilui with a vav. Merashaim, from the wicked or evildoers, right? Rasha is an evil person. Yeshua, right? Salvation, and they're capitalizing salvation. Christian thing to do. Ki hukecha, because your, and usually chok I translate as statutes. Ki hukecha lo darashu, they did not, and this is the same word midrash, right? They did not desire, they did not seek. Lo darashu. Yeah. 156. Great or many are your tender mercies, O Lord, revive me according to your judgments. Your compassion, Lord, is great. Preserve my life according to your laws. Your mercies, O Lord, are abundant. According to your custom, sustain me. Rachamecha rabim havaya, kemishpatecha chayeni. So we've had kemishpatecha chayeni already, just a few verses back. Rechem literally refers to the womb, but it also means mercy. So your mercies are many. Rachamecha rabim havaya. O Lord, right? And what you're seeing here is there's a break, and I think part of that is Khalila. A person should not say Rabim with the Tetragrammaton, implying that there are many gods. So that might be part of the reason there's that break right there. Rachamecha rabim, your mercies are many, right? or great. Many are, I would probably translate it as many, but great makes sense too. Havaya kemishpatecha chayeni, according to your judgments, revive me, enliven me, however you want to translate chayeni. Okay. Many are my persecutors and my enemies, yet I do not turn from your testimonies. Many are the foes who persecute me, but I have not turned from your statutes. Many are my pursuers and my adversaries. From your testimonies I did not turn away. Rabim rodfai v'tzarai, me'edotecha lo natati. Okay. So Rabim, again, many, right? Rodfai, like we said before, a rodef is somebody who pursues something, even trying to murder you, right? That's a rodef. So this is rodfai, my rodfim, my pursuers. It's written bechisaron, which I kind of expected above there. Vetzarai, so tsar literally means besiegers, right? Sorer means, adversary, narrow, tight. Yeah, I would probably translate it as besiegers. It's oftentimes translated as like enemies. Me'edotecha, and I did not expect edotecha to be written bemilui there. From your testimonies, lo natati, I have not turned. I guess netia is. I always think of netiat ohel, right? To pitch a tent. Turn, right? Note or kesalma. He wears light like a cloak. So spread, kind of. 158. I see the treacherous and am disgusted, because they do not keep your word. I look on the faithless with loathing, for they do not obey your word. I saw traitors and I quarreled with them, because they did not keep your word. Okay. Ra'iti bogdim ve'et koteta, interesting. Asher imratecha lo shamaru. Okay. Ra'iti, so it's in the perfect. I see or I have seen, right? Ra'iti. Bogdim. Ooh. Traitors, I guess. Maybe. Boged. To act or deal treacherously. And it's used a lot of times. 48 times in the Bible. More than I expected. To deal deceitfully, treacherously, unfaithfully, offend, transgressor, depart. Primitive root. Yeah, so it is related to beged, garment, to cover. So bogdim, figuratively to act covertly, by implication to pillage, deal deceitfully, offend, transgress. Yeah, beged is clothing. Um, yeah. And it's written bechisaron in case you care. Bogdim ve'et koteta. I do not know that katat, kut, to feel a loathing. Dubious verb intransitive. Assumed meaning break or snap. Katat. How many times? 6 times in the Bible. Nikotata, Nikotata, Vanakita. Here, well, actually, this is 139:21. Ve'et kotat. Interesting. And this is the one we have here, and akut. Oh, Arbaim Shana Akut Bador Vamar Am Lavahem. Yeah, Psalm 95:10. Arbaim Shana Akut Lador. You know, I've said that so many times and I never quite understood what akut. I thought it meant set. This is what happens when you pray out of a Hebrew Siddur all the time. Um, feel a loathing. Okay? I mean, et kutta, again, very strange um, conjugation. Am disgusted. Yeah, I mean, it is in the reflexive. How'd they translate it? I quarreled with them. Et kotita. It caused quarrels, I guess. It's difficult. Um, yeah. Asher imratecha lo shamaru, which who did not keep your commandments, your words. 159. Sorry, I hope you guys can't hear all the emergency vehicles, but there's been a lot of them going past. Um, Consider how I love your precepts. Revive me, O Lord, according to your loving kindness. See how I love your precepts. Preserve my life, Lord, and in accordance with your love. See that I love your precepts, O Lord, according to your kindness, sustain me. Re'eh ki pikudecha ahavti havaya kechastecha chayeni. So re'eh is again to see in the command form, right? Ki, that or how, pikudecha. We've had pikud many times. I prefer assignment. They've been doing precepts every single time. I don't even know what the word precept really means. Um, to to com- I prefer assignment because lahafkid means to assign something, right? So pikudecha ahavti, your pikudim, your assignments or precepts. I love ahavti, right? This is actual love, not as opposed to chesed, which is also in this verse, usually translated as loving kindness. Um, Havaya is obviously the Tetragrammaton. According to your loving kindness, kechastecha chayeni, and again, however you want to translate chayeni, we've had that several times. 160. Um, the entirety of your word is truth, and every one of your righteous judgments endures forever. All your words are true, all your righteous laws are eternal. The beginning of your word is true, and each of your righteous judgments is eternal. I think I'm going to do that long, Rashi. Rosh devarecha emet, Ula'olam ki mishpat tzidkecha. Interesting. Okay, so Rosh, entirety? That's not how it translates Rosh. Rosh literally is head. Um, written without a vav there, but same thing. Rosh davarecha. Rosh is in the construct form with davar, words. Right? Rosh davar, beginning of your word. Um, yeah, I would, I would put beginning of your word is true, not entirety. Uh, Maybe I will read that Rashi. And the end of your word is not true. Rather, the end of your word proves that the beginning of your word is true. For when the nations heard, I am the Lord your God, and you shall not have another God, and you shall not take, etc., they said, everything is for his benefit and for his glory. As soon as they heard honor, etc., you shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, they admitted that they have erred about the beginning of your word, that it is true. Interesting. Interesting way of looking at it. For me, really, it makes me think that Rosh Devarecha is kind of being um, juxtaposed against Le'olam, forever, right? So the beginning of your word is true, and forever are your righteous judgments. Le'olam, with a vav. Kol mishpat tzidkecha. So mishpat is in the construct form with tzedek. Um, Mishpat is judgments. Tzedek is righteousness. So your righteous judgments. Mishpat tzidkecha. Or judgments of. Not sure how I would translate that. Okay, 161. We're on Shin, or according to this, Shin, Sin and Shin. So Sin and Shin are considered one letter, even though words that have one or the other oftentimes don't mean anything uh, uh, alike. Um, so, yeah, we'll see how many times sin or shin is used. 161. Princes persecute me without a cause, but my heart stands in awe of your word. Rulers persecute me without cause, but my heart trembles at your word. Princes pursued me for nothing, but my heart feared your word. Sarim redafuni chinam u midvarcha, sorry, pachad libi. Interesting. Okay, so Asar usually is translated as prince. Um, like Sar Shalom, Prince of Peace from Isaiah that everybody talks about. Um, Sarim, yeah, princes, or I mean, Srira, right, is officiousness, rulership. So Sarim Redafuni, so princes pursued me or persecuted me, again, like Rodef, right, Redafuni, pursued me. Chinam, for no reason, right? Chinam, literally free. I mean, certainly in modern Hebrew it means free, but for no good reason. And the kativ is midvarecha, which would be the plural, but the Kri we read it midvarcha, from your words. Pachad libi. So pachad means, I guess, awe, fear. Yeah, I mean, you can use your concordance there. I'm not sure how many times pachad shows up. 25 times. Yeah. Dread, awe. Libi, so my heart, and it's written with one bet, not two, like we discussed before. 162. I rejoice at your word as one who finds great treasure. I rejoice in your promise like one who finds great spoil. I rejoice over your word as one who finds great spoil. So the second one also starts with a sin. Sas anochi al imratecha kemotze shalal rav. Interesting. So sas, like sason, to um yeah, rejoice. I mean, I guess anochi is the more is considered the more formal way of saying I. Um, I wonder how Rashi actually darshans anochi. Uh, I'm not going to read that long Rashi. Al imratecha, upon your word, or concerning your word. It's the preposition with the ayin. Kemotze, like somebody who finds, right? Mem tzadik aleph is the verb to find, and this is in the participle. It's in the present tense, like one who finds. Shalal is treasure or booty. Rav, great or much. Right? Much treasure, I guess. Much booty. How do they translate? Prey, spoil, plunder, booty. Yeah, I don't know why the word. I guess my in my brain, um, plunder. I guess also makes sense, but for some reason, booty sticks in my mind. Okay, 163. I hate and abhor lying, but I love your law. I hate and detest falsehood, but I love your law. I hate falsehood and I abominate it. Okay, abominate it. I love your Torah. Sheker saneti va'ata eva Toratecha ahavti. So now sheker is with a shin, right? It's sheker is usually juxtaposed against emet, truth, right? So sheker, lying or lies, deceit, saneti, right? I have hated, right? Sin nun aleph is hate. Va'atav eva. So the root is toeva, right? Which is the word that gets translated as abomination in the Torah, right? Tough ayin bet. I guess that's why Chabad decided to do I abominate. Um, it's in the yeah, in the cohortive imperfect with a vav at the beginning, which kind of makes me think it is flipped in tense. Toratecha, your Torah, I have a love. I love. 164. 7 times a day I praise you because of your righteous judgments. 7 times a day I praise you for your righteous laws. 7 times a day I praise you for your righteous judgments. Rashi said, in the morning twice before reading the Shema of the Shema, and once after it, and in the evening twice before it and twice after it. So we make 2 brachas before the Shema in the morning and in the evening. In morning we only make 1 bracha after Shema, and twice in the evening. And I'm not sure if the Talmud got it from here or if Rashi's just making that connection. I don't remember. I haven't learned all of Tractate Brachot. I haven't learned much of it at all, unfortunately. Okay, for your righteous judgments, right? For the reading of the Shema, which consists of words of Torah. So Sheva bayom hilalticha al mishpatei tzidkecha. So Sheva is 7. Again, we're on shins, um, as opposed to sin. Ba yom. So there is the article there in the vocalization. In the day. Now, 7 is considered a number of completeness in Judaism. You'll see it a lot. I mean, regarding completeness, wholeness, right? Hilalticha, I praised you, right? Like Hallel, right? Hallelujah, right? So Hilalticha, I praised you. Al, concerning because, the preposition of the ayin, mishpetei tzidkecha. And we had mishpetei tzidkecha before. And I didn't know how to translate it there, and I don't know how to translate it here either. Judgments of your righteousness, maybe. 165. Great peace have those who love your law, and they have no stumbling block, or nothing causes them to stumble. Okay. Great peace have those who love your law, and nothing can make them stumble. Come on. There is abundant peace to those who love your Torah, and they have no obstacle. Shalom Rav l'ohavei Toratecha ve'ein lamo mechshol. Okay. So, Shalom is obviously peace. It's written Bemilo Yuvav. Rav, great. Yeah. Much peace. Le'ohavei, to those who love Toratecha. It's in the construct form with Torah, right? So those who love your Torah. Ve'ein lamo, and there is not to them, lamo, to them, michshol. And michshol is written bemilui, as is Toratecha. Ohave is written bechisaron, in case you're paying attention to all of that. But ein lamo michshol. So chaf shin lamed means to stumble or to fall, I think. Stumbling block. Kashal. Stagger, totter. So a michshol is there's actually the commandment lifnei iver lo titen michshol. Do not place lo titen michshol. The Leviticus 19:14. Do not place a stumbling block before the blind. So 166. Lord, I hope for your salvation, and I do your commandments. I wait for your salvation, Lord, and I follow your commandments. I hope for your salvation, O Lord, and I perform your commandments. Sibarti, interesting. Sibarti leyeshuatecha. This is with a sin. Havaya in mitzvotecha asiti. So sibarti, to inspect or examine, to hope, tarry, view, wait. Shows up 8 times total in the Bible. Severe, but Masoretic seen Norzi, hence connotation from Arabic, probe a wound, to examine, improbable. From denominative from Aramaic, loan word, samech bet resh, to think, savar. Oh, I see. Huh. Might be a loan word from Aramaic. That actually makes sense to me. Okay, so sibarti, considered, hoped, I guess. Le Yeshuatecha, for your salvation, your Yeshua. Um, Havaya umitzvotecha asiti. People who are paying attention, this verse has a lot of miluim. Sibarti is not in the miluim, but and I have done or performed your mitzvot, your commandments. Asiti, right? La asot is to do or to make. Okay, 167. My soul keeps your testimonies, and I love them exceedingly. I obey your statutes, for I love them greatly. My soul kept your testimonies, and I love them exceedingly. Shamra nafshi edotecha va'ohavim me'od. Va'ohavem me'od. Okay, so Shamra, kept, right, performed, kept. Nafshi, my soul. Edotecha, your testimonies, written without a vav, right? So those are the commandments that set us apart. Va'ohavim, va'ohavem, right? And they're saying it's an imperfect. Yeah. Ohav. So the root is aleph, hey, bet. And and conjugating that in the imperfect is difficult because you can't have two alephs right after each other. Ohavem, and loved them. Ohavem. Me'od. And I love them exceedingly. Ohavem. Me'od. Yeah. So, I mean, there's the vav that's kind of flipping it a bit from the imperfect, I guess. Yeah. Not easy to translate. The words are clear. It's a very simple sentence. It's just, yeah, how you translate it. 168. I keep your precepts and your testimonies, for all my ways are before you. I obey your precepts and your statutes, for all my ways are known to you. I kept your precepts and your testimonies, for all my ways are before you. Shamarti pikudecha ve'edotecha ki chol derachai negdecha. Interesting. Okay, so shamarti, I have kept, right? Pikudecha, your precepts or assignments. Ve'edotecha, and your testimonies or signs, right? Pikudecha is with a vav, edotecha is without a vav. Kichol derachai negdecha. So my initial translation of this would be, all my ways are before you, right in front of you. It can also be translated, because all of my ways are against you, which is interesting. Does Rashi say anything? Are before you, you know all my ways. So he comments. I'm guessing some of the Mefarshim, the commentators, probably go to town on that one. Okay, 169. We are on the no, thank you, on the last letter. Let me cry, let my cry come before you, O Lord. Give me understanding according to your word. Just checking to see if there are any comments. May my cry come before you, Lord. Give me understanding according to your word. May my song of prayer draw near before you, O Lord, according to your word, enable me to understand. Okay. Tikrav rinati lefanecha havaya, kidvarecha havineni. Interesting. Okay. So tikrav, again, this is the same root to come close. Against here, it's in the imperfect, right? Should come close. Rina, so Rina is a song or of joy, kind of. Kol Rina, right? Um, yeah, my cry. I understand why they translated it as song. I probably would too. Lefanecha, before you, Havaya, tetragrammaton. Kidvarecha, havineni. According to your word, cause me to understand, right? It's in the hefil, it's in the causative, and the root is boneh, right? Bina, to which is considered understanding from one thing from another or to build upon, right? It's related to boneh, to build. Um, the English word maven is actually from the Yiddish of Havana, right? Mevin, somebody who understands. 170. Let my supplication, prayer of supplication, come before you. Deliver me according to your word. May my supplication come before you. Deliver me according to your promise. May my supplication come before you according to your word. Save me. Tavo techinati lefanecha keimratecha hatzileni. Interesting. So tavo, the root is bet vav aleph, although usually the vav isn't there, right? Should come, right? Tavo should come. Techinati. So techina, supplication is how we usually translate it. We're not talking about the salad. Techina, sorry, I had to make that joke. But tachanunim, right, are things which cause chanen, right? Chen is grace. Um, yeah, techina, tachanunim, right? Things, supplications is how we usually translate it. Lefanecha, before you, keimratecha hatzileni, according to your word. So this is the hefil, it's the causative of hatzalah. At the root, natsal, nun tzadik lamed. Yeah, there's the dagesh in the tzadi there. So hatzalah is salvation, I guess. Matzil, plunder, strip. I mean, it's used over 200 times in the Bible, so matzil. It's not exactly a. Hatzalah is the name of the emergency services in religious communities in the United States. I'm not sure, possibly in Israel as well, but like in New York, there's there's Hasidic EMTs who work at with Hatzalah. Okay, 171. My lips shall utter praise, for you teach me your statutes. May my lips overflow with praise, for you teach me your decrees. My lips will utter praise when you teach me your statutes. Tavana Sefatai Tehillah. Interesting. Tavana. So like Yabia, right? Ki talamdeni hukecha. So Yabia, the verse that it reminds me of is Laila Laila Yechavedat Yom Yabia Omer Yom Layom Yabia Omer. Yeah, Yom Layom Yabia Omer. Laila Yechavedat. Psalm 19:2. To pour forth. Well, that's in the he fill there. Nava, to flow spring bubble up. 11 times in the Bible. Tavana, utter. Yeah, I guess. So this weird thing here is this third person feminine plural ending, which does not exist in modern Hebrew because it barely exists in biblical Hebrew, and like you almost never see it. That's why you're probably not familiar with it. Um, and in modern Hebrew, they just got rid of it. Um, Although it seems to kind of be making a comeback, but safatai. So safa is a lip or edge. So safat hayam is, so you would call a beach sfat hayam, right? The edge of the sea. So safatai, my lips. Tehillah, uh, praise, right? From Hallel, right? Tehillah. Tehillim is how we refer to Psalms in Hebrew. Ki talamdeni, because you shall teach me, right? The root is lamed mem daled, to teach, lamed. Talamdeni, you teach me, hukecha, your statutes. Yep. 172. My tongue will proclaim your word, for all your commandments are righteous. Oh, I forgot to read the other ones. What number? 172 are we? Okay, 172. My tongue shall speak of your word, for all your commandments are righteousness. May my tongue sing of your word, for all your commands are righteous. We read that. Let's look at the Hebrew. Ta'an lashoni imratecha, ki kol mitzvotecha tzedek. So ta'an is the command form of to answer. Yeah, answer or respond. Used a billion times, 329 times in the Bible. Ta'an leshani. So speak, probably translated as answer because that's what it means. Respond, maybe. Leshoni, my tongue, with above. Imratecha, your words. Kichol mitzvotecha tzedek, because all of your commandments are righteous or righteousness. Yeah, I mean, pretty simple stuff in that verse. 173. Let your hand become my help, for I have chosen your precepts. I don't know why there are so many emergency vehicles going by, but there have been a lot today. Um, Hopefully, everyone is good and safe, but there have been a lot of emergency vehicles going past here. May your hand be ready to help me. I was kind of hoping they weren't you couldn't hear them, but yeah, they've been going there. There's been a lot going by. For I have chosen your precepts. May your hand be ready to help me, for I have chosen your precepts. Tehi yadecha leozreni, ki pikudecha bacharti. Okay, so tehi, don't see it that much, but it is the command form of to be, right? Tehi, should be. Yadecha, your hand, singular hand, your hand. le'ozreni. So Ezra, right? Ezer means to help, right? Al Ein Zayin Resh. Le'ozreni. So to my help, as a help to me, I guess. Ki pikudecha, because your precepts or assignments, baharti. So bahar means to choose. In modern Hebrew, it even means to vote. But they're baharta b'chaim, right? You shall choose life in, I believe, Deuteronomy 30. Yeah, so choice. So God is not a Calvinist. Sorry, I just had to do that. Okay, 174. I long for your salvation, O Lord, and your law is my delight. I long for your salvation, Lord, and your law gives me delight. I yearn for your salvation, O Lord, and your Torah is my occupation. Interesting. I'm surprised at that. Ta'avti liyeshuatecha havaya v'toratecha sha'ashu'ai. Yes, God predestined me not to be a Calvinist. Um, so te'avon means to crave, long, I guess. Um, it's actually, I mean, in eh, unless I'm getting it wrong, in rabbinic Hebrew, ta'ava is considered usually kind of like lust, like not a good desire. Um, I think it's the same root. Let me see. Ta'av. Um, Tuf Aleph Bet. Yeah, litov, to desire, to lust, right? Te'avon. But te'avon is how you say with gusto, right? Bon appetit in Hebrew, right? Somebody's eating, you say bete'avon, with great appetite. Um, so in modern Hebrew, I guess it's, well, in rabbinic Hebrew, a taiva is considered something bad. Okay, where were we? We were on 174. Um, Li Yeshuatecha, to your salvation, Havaya, Vetoratecha Sha'ashu'ai, and your law is. So Sha'ashu'im I usually translate as delight. I'm not sure why Chabad decided to translate it as occupation. Um, and like we said before, there is that whole question of the two-letter root, right, of Yeshua. Yeah. 175. Let my soul live, and it shall praise you, and let your judgments help me. Let me live that I may praise you, and may your laws sustain me. May my soul live and praise you, and may your judgments help me. Techi nafshi uthalel tahaleka utahaleka. Interesting. Uh, kind of want to tahaleka. Umishpatecha yazruni. So techi, it's the command form of to live, right? Techi nafshi, my soul should live. Techi utehalelcha leka, right? And it shall um, praise, right? Like hallelujah, right? Praise you, yeah. Umishpatecha ya'azruni, and your judgments should help me. Ya'azruni. And it kind of is kind of strange that Yazruni is written with a kubutz instead of a shuruk. But yeah, Yazruni. Last verse. We are at the end. I have gone astray like a lost sheep. Seek your servant, for I do not forget your commandments. I have strayed like a lost sheep. Seek your servant, for I have not forgotten your commands. I went astray like a lost lamb. Seek your servant, for I did not forget your commandments. Ta'iti kese oved. Bakesh avdecha. Interesting. Ki mitzvotecha lo shachachti. So ta'iti, so to go astray, to make a mistake, right? Um, yeah, to err, ta'ah, right? Yeah. Kese, like se can be a kid, or I believe it can be a goat kid as well. Um, yeah, hasel olah, right? The by the akadah, by the binding of Isaac, it talks about a se. Um, yeah, oved. So aleph bet daled, not ayin bet daled, is to lose or to destroy, right? So an aveda is something that's been lost. Um, oved, bakesh, kese oved, like a lost sheep, right? Or a sheep that is lost. Well, it is the participle, right? It's in the present tense. Now this bakesh avdecha. So bet kuf shin is to ask for, right? So in Hebrew, you say please, bevakasha, right? Um, so it usually means to request, to seek. Yeah, I guess it's mostly. I mean, 94 times it's translated as seek. That's a lot. But it can also be begging, require. It's used a lot. Um, 225 times. Um, I don't think I've ever seen it in. I mean, it's in a command form and it's addressing God. Avdecha. Bakesh avdecha. Seek. Yeah, I guess seek. Your servant, your slave. Ki mitzvotecha lo shachachti. For I have not forgotten your mitzvot. Okay. So that was Psalm 119. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do next week. Um, if there are any requests, do let me know. Um, somebody requested a response to Father Stephen DeYoung going on um, that. I believe the name of the thing is Gospel Simplicity. Is that? I believe that's the. Uh, uh, yeah, Gospel Simplicity. Um, so I probably will do that. I have a bunch of discussions I'm going to be doing. So there's going to be some conversations. Um, trying to think. I may just go back to Genesis because I would like to actually start finishing some of the stuff that I started. Um, if anybody has any questions or anything, I am going to hang around at least for the next half an hour or so. Um, Certainly, everybody's welcome to my Discord server. Let me actually put an invitation somewhere. My pleasure. You're my favorite fan. You are also my only fan, I believe.